Hey guys, Bradley from Armour Detail Supply, and today I want to introduce you to our newest rinseless wash media, the Villain Wash Sponge. So what makes the Villain Wash Sponge different from other sponges on the market? Our main priority was reducing friction. So we all know friction is the enemy in any sort of wash process. Wiping down your vehicle, friction is what causes scratches. So with a rinseless wash, you have two different ways of reducing the friction. Your actual rinseless wash solution itself, which obviously we have HERO Highly Lubricious Rinseless Wash, and then we wanted to pair it with a sponge structure that had a very frictionless feel. So in addition to the specific open cell foam structure of the Villain sponge, we also have a very detailed and customized slit depth, which we tested precisely to give you that frictionless glide over the surface. If your slits are too deep, you have a lot of grab on the surface as you're pulling the sponge across the surface, and then if they're too shallow, you don't have enough slit to allow the dirt to sink into the slits and not just be dragged along the surface. So we have a very specific millimeter depth that we did on this sponge to give you a very frictionless feel, but also be super safe, still allowing dirt and contaminants enough room to kind of sink down into the slits and not cause marring while you're using the sponge. So one of the things we noticed when testing other rinseless wash sponges on the market and different types of foam samples for the Villain sponge is the color. While it may not seem to make a huge difference, it can actually make a dramatic difference on how clean and how safe your rinseless wash process is. Now, how is that? The color of your sponge, when you introduce it to the vehicle and get dirt on the sponge and then go back into the bucket, you can clearly see once your sponge is actually clean and ready to go back to the vehicle. If you have a black sponge or a really dark colored sponge and you go to dunk it in, you're never gonna know if all that dirt has been removed, if you still have grit in the slits, or if there's still grime on the sponge that then you're reintroducing back to the vehicle. With the introduction of the Villain Wash Sponge to our other types of rinseless wash media, let's talk about where and when you might use one or the other. One is not going to be the end-all be-all. I like to use both in the process of rinseless washing. So let's start with the OG Auto Fiber Double Flip Microfibers. These are a fantastic option for rinseless washing, and they can be incredibly safe because they give you 4 sides per microfiber. You get 3 towels in the pack, so you can put these in your rinseless wash bucket and you never have to introduce a dirty microfiber back to your vehicle. You can simply flip these over, and every panel you have a fresh, clean microfiber, and you're never reintroducing dirt from the bucket or the vehicle back onto itself. So now you know the positives of the Villain sponge versus the Auto Fiber Double Flip towels. I'm gonna let you know how I like to do the process. So I like to use the Villain Wash Sponge for the majority of the vehicle, your top surfaces, the sides of your doors, the fenders, glass, all that sort of stuff. Your not so dirty parts of the vehicle, I love using the sponge because it's super simple. Where I'll switch it up, and this is all just personal preference, is when you get to the really dirty parts. The bumpers, the lower rockers, the rear bumpers. If you start getting into the wheels, things like that, I'm gonna switch to the Auto Fiber Double Flips, and I'm gonna have a couple of those still in the bucket that then I can just hit a rocker and then I can flip the towel over, not have to reintroduce that heavy grit that might be on the rocker, and just keep washing additional parts of the vehicle. So I'm not introducing the really heavy grit and grime into the bucket, just the normal stuff that will collect on the top parts of the vehicle. So now you know everything there is to know about the new Villain Wash Sponge, why we made it and how it may differ from other types of wash sponges on the market, the pros and cons of using a Villain sponge versus the Auto Fiber Double Flips. So pick up your Villain sponge today, try it, because every hero needs a villain.